The world is waking up to the power of crypto, and we are seeing this with new NFT and token launches every day, all using blockchain technologies. We're also seeing huge marketing spends by crypto exchanges and platforms, and so this season, we are speaking to the marketing leaders of those crypto companies. Hosted by Brave Software and me, Donny Dvorin. You're listening to a new episode of The Brave Marketer, and I think you're going to like this one because we talked to Duke Kim, who is the Director of Crypto Partnerships from The Giving Block. The Giving Block has a really interesting business model. They make it easy for nonprofits to accept cryptocurrency donations and then for users to donate in a more tax-efficient way. This interview was actually something that we recorded for Giving Tuesday a couple months ago for our YouTube channel, but the conversation ended up being so impactful and there were all these little good nuggets that we want to share it with our podcast listeners for our crypto-themed season that we're in right now. The Giving Block has been a partner of ours for a long time and has worked with advertisers such as Nexo to raise money for various charities via Brave Ads. One campaign alone that we did raised $25,000 for Save the Children via the hashtag SaveWithCrypto. And you're going to hear more about this in this episode, and we'll link the case study in the show notes below. In this episode, we learned about, of course, crypto philanthropy, why donors should donate cryptocurrencies to nonprofits rather than dollars themselves, and how our own Brave users can donate their BAT. But before we hop in today's episode, we want to share with you our Brave Pick of the Week. So this week, we want to feature Bybit. Bybit is a cryptocurrency derivatives exchange. They ran sponsored image with us, and they run them now, push notifications, and Brave News to drive user acquisitions, and have been running ads for over a year. They have seen record growth over the past year and have been made Brave ads an integral part of their advertising strategy. Now, for this week's episode of The Brave Marketer. Welcome, everyone, to our Crypto for Good video, and thank you for joining us because we have a really special conversation today. We are talking to Duke from The Giving Block, and Duke's going to talk more about The Giving Block in detail, but basically it's on unlocking the full potential of philanthropic nature of both humans and organizations by giving back to nonprofits and charities worldwide. Welcome to the show, Duke. How are you doing?
Fantastic, Donny. Thank you so much for having me today. As you had mentioned, right, we've kicked off the charitable giving season of crypto. Just recovering from a very busy Crypto Giving Tuesday, which was just 2 days ago, where the Giving Block raised just over $2.5 million, or just about $2.5 million on a single day of charity. And that really kicks off the whole season of December to really activate the crypto community to show everyone that crypto is good.
Gotcha. So why don't we just start off by you telling our audience about Duke?
Well, that's my name. My name is Duke. I've joined the Giving Block about 2 months ago, but I've been in crypto and more importantly, actually, I guess, throughout my professional career, working for philanthropic organizations and giving back to the community. So even when at college, I was working for a group called University of Michigan Dance Marathon, raising money for children's physical rehab programs. I went into the world of Wall Street, where I continued to give back. Prior to going into crypto full-time in 2018, my last kind of philanthropic initiative was over at Bloomberg, where we did a, guess the closing price of Bitcoin at the end of 2017, and we raised about $700 for Toys for Tots. Fast forward 4 years later, now I'm working at the Giving Block. Our goal here is to raise, close to $100 million this year for a variety of charities and causes.
Gotcha. And how do you decide where the money goes? Which charities and which nonprofits?
For me personally, it's obviously just kind of, what's really struck a chord with me. So again, looking back from very early on, it's always been about giving back mostly to children, but also just to communities that are underrepresented and really need support and that oftentimes get overlooked in a variety of other programs. So I tend to look for the underdog in a lot of things that I do. I consider myself an underdog, and I always want to give back to programs like that.
Yeah. And for this past Tuesday, the $2 million, where did that money mostly go?
That went to, across our 1,000 charities on our platform. So Crypto Giving Tuesday is really meant to be the crypto spin on what is more traditionally known as Giving Tuesday, which is, again, just a global day of fundraising, awareness, giving time, goods, and services to organizations and groups that need it. And again, for us, what we ended up realizing was that the crypto community has a wide variety of causes and charities they support. And so that money raised went to anyone from American Cancer Society, Save the Children, United Way, all the way down to local animal shelters, philanthropic organizations across the country and across the globe.
Got it. What makes giving in crypto different than giving in cash or fiat?
This is one of my favorite topics, and I really hate calling myself a tax guy for all sorts of reasons. But there is actually a huge tax consideration particularly for U.S. donors. So if you donate crypto, it's sort of like donating appreciated stock or your car or your boat. You can actually not pay the capital gains that are going to be triggered, i.e. if you were to sell that crypto to give the cash proceeds, you have to pay a capital gain on the sale of the asset. If you donate that asset, the nonprofit receives the full amount. The nonprofit doesn't have to pay taxes on it because of its nonprofit status. And then you can also deduct the fair market value of that asset against your other taxable liability. Super important this year, given how active people have been trading NFTs, have ridden the price of Bitcoin up from call it $4,000 late last year or early last year, all the way to now. But the bigger story here is that we're actually showing that crypto is used for good. Right, that crypto is not just used on the dark web or that it's used as hacker tools or anything like that, that we're actually, using that crypto to power all of these nonprofits. And I think that's oftentimes missed in all of what we're doing is really, it's more than just donating those assets, but it's actually empowering the nonprofits and then promoting the idea that crypto can be used as a force for good.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And where are you seeing most of the donations come from? From individuals or from corporations?
It's hard to tell. I think, I guess it's relatively easy to tell. A large majority of where we've raised our funds from thus far has been from individual donors. And that donor demographic is really interesting, and I think is a cause for why we've also seen such a huge uptake in nonprofits, coming to work and on board with us. We've seen about a tenfold increase in the number of nonprofits from the beginning of this year to right now in terms of working with us. We're powering about 1,000 pro-crypto nonprofits. The reason for it, though, from the individual donor perspective, is that the typical sort of crypto holder, investor, trader skews younger, and maybe because of the environment that he or she has grown up into, they also skew to be very, very charitable, and that creates a really strong sort of confluence of events that makes these people want to donate more and to do good with this money. And the other piece of it is that number has gone up. Right, we've seen just a huge rise in prices of NFTs, of blue chip projects like CryptoPunks and Bored Apes. We've seen Bitcoin and Ether and Solano all take off in terms of price point. So a lot of people are kind of waking up and saying, I'm quote unquote, an overnight rich or overnight wealthy. And because of that, they wake up, they see their MetaMask wallet overflowing with their Brave wallets overflowing with crypto kind of wealth, and they want to immediately give back to people. And the best way to do that is obviously by donating those assets directly rather than selling for cash.
Got it. I appreciate the subtle Brave wallet plug, which we just launched a couple of weeks ago.
Absolutely love it.
Yeah. Have you used it?
Absolutely. I've been a Brave personal user for a very long time. I would say, not to shield too much, but, every company I work for or consult at, immediately, making sure that the Brave browser becomes the browser of choice and kind of displaces anything else that people may be using.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what's a way for a company to add philanthropic, charity donations to the company? Individuals makes total sense. You just go on the website, you donate, but what about companies?
Sure, that's a fantastic question. So there are a lot of ways that we work with crypto corporate partners or corporate partners in general. Obviously, the very easy one is simply through financial sponsorship, or you're just accepting a donation in cryptocurrencies and then routing that to any of the nonprofits or causes that corporation wants to support and stand with. The other way we actually work with groups is creating corporate social responsibility programs alongside that organization. Again, going back to the idea that our first and foremost sort of mission here is to promote the idea that crypto is good, that crypto can be used for good. And as the ecosystem has continued to mature and evolve, a lot of organizations reach out to us and reach out to me saying, we've gotten to a certain point in terms of employee headcount, in terms of revenue. We realized that we have a real voice and following. How can we use that platform? How can we use our platform to better the world in which we're operating? So we work together to help them identify nonprofits that they could support, help them have create time for their employees to physically donate time and energy with these nonprofits locally around their community, and really, again, help these crypto startups become more mature organizations and understand the power and responsibility that they have within their community, both locally, physically, or as well as in the metaverse, in just terms of supporting international organizations.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Back to you for a second. What was in your heart that made you want to kind of follow donation philanthropic area for, since such a young age?
Fantastic question. That, I think where it came from is, and this might sound cheesy, but 100% true. My parents have always instilled this sort of sense that I'm blanking on the term now, but basically an obligation of the nobles, right? I'm sure there's a fancy Latin term for it, but basically, if you are blessed, you really should turn around and try to bless other people. So even though we grew up, pretty solidly middle classes, first generation immigrants in Texas, it's always been whatever excess we have, whatever extra we run upon, let's turn around and try to give that back to another person, another community. I think I've taken that, and it's become more ingrained inside of me as I've gotten older. And part of it, again, is just like the younger, millennials that are growing up kind of crypto rich. I've been in this space for a number of years, and obviously finding myself also blessed and wanting to turn that back around. On a very, very personal note, my second daughter has some medical issues. And at the beginning of the year, we were at our local hospital. And one of the intake questions was, if you have any concerns about your mental health or your capability to pay for all of this, please let us know. And my wife and I turned around to each other and said, well, I guess we'll be okay, barring some sort of ultra rare disease that costs, millions of dollars per pill. We can probably weather this storm. And we realized, that not a lot of people can say that. So it really ignited inside of us, or reignited that passion to give back to people that can't necessarily, support themselves all the time.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. Are there any really good kind of case studies or examples besides the Nexo one of companies or individuals giving and, where the money went and, anything that you want to share?
Particularly this year, we've seen this rise of NFT-driven donation and charitable activity. So just the other day, we actually had a Twitter Spaces AMA with Jack Butcher, who runs Visualize Value, as well as Care.org, one of the largest and oldest charitable organizations on the planet. And earlier this year, Jack had created a series of NFTs. The proceeds were donated to feed children in Afghanistan and families in Afghanistan that were impacted sort of through the conflict that sprung up this summer. And what we had seen was that the NFTs represent a very specific call to action. As you purchased each one, it told you, Donny, if you buy this NFT, it's going to feed 10 families for this period of time. If you buy this more expensive NFT, it can sponsor 100 families for a greater period of time. And it gives you a piece of collectible art at the same time. That's not just a flex, but it is really about community building. So someone that goes to your wallet and says, oh, well, Donny has done this, and it represents this amount of charitable activity. But the broader story there, though, is that really, we've seen NFT communities, again, because of that almost immediate wealth that's coming out of this group, they want to turn this art medium into a form of charitable giving. Something a little bit more fun would be the Bored Ape Yacht Club. Hugely popular, what would they consider a blue chip NFT project. They've donated almost $1 million to an orangutan outreach group, and that is powered by the Giving Block. This was, I believe, about 2 times the annual budget of that orangutan outreach group, and they were floored. They were shocked. They were obviously very, very surprised and happy to see this. And we've seen that a lot in the NFT community, where charity becomes part of the actual product roadmap. We don't have to talk about the technical details or implications here, but a lot of times, NFT projects are as part of their technical white paper, their roadmap. They say, as we hit certain, funding hurdles and kind of goals, we are going to turn around and give 1%, 5%, 10% back to the community. And I think that's a really, really neat way to activate the NFT community. And again, show that crypto is a force for good.
Got it. That makes a ton of sense. Switching gears to the broader crypto markets, what are you seeing right now? What do you think about the NFT market? Is it a balloon about to pop? Is it just getting going? What about the crypto market overall?
I am personally a perma bull. I think across both crypto and NFTs. And I think we're going to continue, seeing that resurgence. I mean, what is fascinating to me from the NFT side is really the consumer activation that's occurring here. Budweiser buying a Tom Sachs rocket, now doing an NFT drop, Adidas working with G Money, creating NFT projects. And I'm not a particularly smart person, but I would imagine consumer products organizations and companies have lots of people that are really keeping their finger on the pulse of things. And all of them jumping into this space really shows to me that it's a thing that will continue to go forward. I may have mentioned before that the podcast started, I just moved my family down to Tampa from New Jersey. This morning I was buying some Buccaneers gear for my youngest daughter, or my eldest daughter actually. And on the company website, when I was making the purchase, it said, if you buy more than $99, you get an NFT jersey as part of like the freebie. So I think we're seeing more and more of this activity. So I think NFTs as a technology, as a concept will be here. I think, and then certainly on the crypto side, again, I'm just a generic permabull. I see this really changing a lot of things. And, prior to getting into the crypto space, I was a Wall Street guy. And so the fact that I like to throw out to the folks that are still stuck in TradFi is that the crypto market cap is about $2.5 trillion. That's excluding kind of the NFT market cap as well, versus the 120 trillion or so that are sort of global assets under management. And so the point there being is that as crypto continues to gain relevance and take precedent in the ecosystem, the traditional asset managers that are benchmarked against relative value have to try to make up for the fact that they're not participating in crypto by buying more stocks and more bonds, right? Or they can take the easy way and get into crypto themselves and get that direct exposure. So, it's an asset that's barely a teenager, but I think is really, taking center stage and will continue to do so.
Yeah. I want to remind our users, like most of our users are probably already Brave users, but to download the Brave browser, you can do that at brave.com. And then when you opt into viewing ads, you earn BAT. And then you can take your BAT and you can donate it via the Giving Block. So there's a lot of connections between our two companies. Also, you'll be running some sponsored image notification ads. And with those, you'll see opportunities to donate as well. So lots of opportunities to donate your crypto by going straight to the Giving Block or via the Brave browser. But any closing words for the audience, Duke?
No, thank you so much for having me, Donny. This was a real pleasure and a real honor on my part. As you had mentioned, right, we do support BAT. We do support about 45 other crypto assets to be donated to the 1,000 charities on our platform today. But the really bigger message here is that, December is a month about looking back and kind of counting your blessings. And what we really encourage is that users, regardless of the tax implication, just to make a charitable contribution to give back to the community that has given so much to you, you being the general you. And so we really just hope to continue that trend of driving philanthropic activity via crypto.
And so do you have all the meme coins, the Doge, the Shiba?
We do indeed. And we actually have seen quite an uptake in those coins being donated. We were partially behind some of the work for some of other organizations that are raising large funding campaigns this year. I don't know if I can actually disclose just yet, but we saw just a ton of Shiba flow through our coffers because of that reason. I mean, again, these coins are, I can't even begin to tell you, I guess, what the return multiple has been from the beginning of year to now. But, everyone was pointing to that wallet that had, started with $8,000 worth of Shiba, turned into $5.7 billion. That's a huge taxable liability. Donating some of that asset is certainly a sound decision to be made. So we do see that. Plus, again, and actually, before I go, I would like to say that on Crypto Giving Tuesday, for the first time ever, we saw ETH actually flip in Bitcoin in terms of the most donated asset, which was very interesting to see that, Bitcoin has, in person, my heart will always be king, but we saw humongous ETH donations come through. And I think we'll honestly continue to see that given the outperformance in price as well.
Yeah. What about Solano? And then the Doge version of Solano is Samo.
So Solana is one of the funny ones. We do support the asset. It's not, unfortunately, supported directly with our institutional exchange partners. So, the workflow is a little bit different, but we do encourage donors of Solana to reach out directly to me, Duke at the Giving Block, to actually work together to figure out the workflow and make those donations. But you end up making a charitable donation to a nonprofit, and then it ultimately goes to the nonprofit that you would like to support.
Yeah. And we'll see if Samo gets as big as the Doge and the Shiba Inu.
Absolutely.
All right. On that note, thank you so much for coming on, Duke.
Thank you, Donny. Have a great day.
Thanks again for listening to the Brave Marketer podcast. To stay up to date on all things Brave, sign up to the Brave Ads Insider newsletter at brave.com/ad news. You'll get tips for advertising in a cookieless world, exclusive content industry insights, best practices for consumer privacy, and more. If you'd like to get started on your Brave ads campaign or speak to someone from the team, email adsales@brave.com. That's adsales@brave.com. And finally, musical credit goes to my older brother, Donny Dvorin, who provides inspiration every single day. Until next time.